We are living in a culture of surveillance, being watched, tracked or listened to on a daily basis. Increasingly, schools and parents are turning to technology to keep an eye on their children and staff. In this programme, we're going to look at some of the examples of how this is happening and ask, is it right?
I think as society sort of progresses, anything that makes life easier is to be recommended.
I really do not think we should be using this technology. I think we're bonkers using this technology.
It's not a big a deal as everyone makes it out to be, and besides, I'm quite happy with the school having it anyway. I trust the school, they've asked my consent. That's fine, I'm perfectly okay with that.
No manufacturer of any security product should ever say that something is 100% secure. Nothing is.
Britain is one of the most watched societies in the world and has more than a fifth of the world's CCTV cameras. It's estimated that on any given day a person can be seen on CCTV over 200 times. And in an increased effort to beef up security, clamp down on bullying, truancy and antisocial behaviour, schools are now hitting the record button to protect the nation's children. Stockwell Park High School in South London has over 100 CCTV cameras around its site, and there's practically no place for its students to hide, with a constant reminder that someone's always watching. CCTV in schools is not uncommon. After all, we see it quite often on the perimeters. But what's different here is they've taken it one step further and put the cameras in the classrooms. Each class is equipped with 2 cameras situated at the front and rear of the room, giving an uninterrupted view. Microphones record the audio content of the lesson, and all the material is stored on a hard drive kept under lock and key in a room next to each classroom. But why go down this route at all?
We've got a lot of computers in most of our classrooms now, so quite a lot of expensive kit, projectors and so on. We were obviously thinking about security for those. Well, we'd had a good experience with using CCTV for the external security of the school, and it made sense to really just extend that into here.
When you first mooted the idea in the staff room and said, by the way, everybody, we've got this great idea, we're going to protect our kit and all your classes are going to be filmed, how did that go down? Okay, first of all, staff could understand the security side of things. However, they were obviously worried about how the system could then be used. Could it be used, or would it be used to spy on them? What was the extent of our use, management use, going to be of the system?
Well done, Stuart. A speech persuading them that the school uniform should be banned. I was apprehensive at first, actually, when I first joined the school and those cameras. I wondered what behaviour was like, theft maybe. I've found, however, you forget they're there very, very quickly and you carry on working. Students don't always seem to realise maybe they're there and they don't interfere at all.
Do you ever look back at the stuff?
No, I don't think we're allowed, actually. There was a few jokes and whatnot. We wanted to check each other's lessons out and see how you react under certain circumstances. We're not allowed to look at the cameras or the monitors.
So the policies in place for them are quite strict?
Very strict, very strict. We have to apply to the head teacher to look at the cameras, which is, I've never wanted to check out the cameras for behaviour or an incident in the classroom.
But do cameras in the classroom alter the way in which staff teach?
I suppose I'm more mindful of the fact that I have to be professional at all points and very mindful of how I speak and how I address the students, and that as much as they're there to ensure they meet the expected requirements. So I suppose it keeps me in the straight and narrow just as much, really.
In order for us to film in here today, we have to get consent. Do you have to get consent for these?
In the sense that we tell our parents that we have this system in place. We tell any teachers that are going to be working here that they'll be working in an environment which is covered by cameras. We explain to them the reasons that we're doing it. I suppose anybody who has very strong feelings against it can not come here, not send their child here. not come and teach here. But we haven't found that.
Research into the effectiveness of CCTV in public places has been mixed. But what do the students think about having cameras watching their every move?
I think having CCTV in the classroom is quite great because I feel much more comfortable when it's there than when it's not.
It feels like you've got people watching you all the time, and when you want to have your own privacy, you've got people watching you, but at the same time it's great because if there's an incident inside the classroom when there's a fight or a verbal, something physical going on, the teachers can look on the CCTV and see about if there's line in it, then they correct it and say, right, this is what happened, I saw on CCTV.
It's just a waste of money, because when my pouch got stolen in the class with the cameras, I went downstairs to ask Gilbert to check the cameras, and he's like, they're turned off. So what's the point of having them on if they're going to be turned off?
I started 5 years ago back in year 7, and the school was a very different place, like more fights, more abuse and stuff, yeah. But ever since the CCTV came in, everyone's been calmer, quieter, it's been more safe. Like, if there's something bad happening, you can easily catch the person, or, yeah, you feel more safer.
Apart from making you feel safe, like it kind of like acts as evidence, like a video evidence to you in case you're being abused or something like that.
When an incident happens, we don't rush straight to the cameras. When an incident happens, we have the human witnesses, and they're the people we go to. We have our policies and procedures for how we investigate incidents and so on. And 90% of the time, that's all we need, and the issue is resolved.
How many times have you had to turn to the CCTV?
Once, where a member of staff wasn't available and another student had said their mobile phone got lost and they needed someone to put forward a form, so I wasn't directly involved in that. And a second time where outside my classroom on the corridor, some of the displays had been graffitied, and I was fairly sure a particular student had done it, and I wanted to make sure of that before I accused them of anything.
Cameras footage could be used as discussion material for CPD purposes. It can certainly be used as evidence to prevent malicious accusations.
A tiny bit of writing on paper later. As a young male teacher, you are made aware of the potential for accusations to be made against you. And one of the things they always point out to is you shouldn't be in a classroom with one other student. There should be someone else as a witness, and at the very least your door should be open so people could see. The camera takes away that need.
I wonder whether it's possible ever to completely relax, knowing that you're being watched the whole time. What do you think about that?
It is easy to relax in the classroom sometimes. It depends, because you have times when there's things that you don't want the CCTV to see. Like, I know there's places when people want to blow their nose and they got the CCTV and you got the speaker listening to you as well. And there's moments when there's girls need us girls, we fix up ourselves in the classroom, I'm not gonna lie. And there's times when boys, I think boys do certain things that they don't want CCTV to watch them and stuff.
If you're trying to talk about a girl that you met or something like that, you wouldn't oh, someone's listening to me or something, or maybe, oh, he's gonna tell me, or he knows I'm moving out with some girl or this, so you you just put everything confidential to yourself.
Schools might argue that putting cameras in classrooms and corridors reduces bullying and antisocial behaviour, but there are many who say it's not as simple as that.
I think there are issues here about invasion of privacy and invasion of professional privacy. I would not want this kind of big brother camera in the corner of the classroom culture to proliferate. On the other hand, CCTV cameras, if they are deterrents for crime, and if they're deterrents as well in those places where bullying happens, then that's a good use of it.
I think very much we would be asking the question, why is it being used? What are we trying to find out? Do we have baselines in relation to information about the school so that we know that perhaps if we use CCTV in the classroom, it's going to be making a difference? So coming back to the original idea, why is it being used? What data is being gathered? And what are we going to be doing with the data?
What role has CCTV played in improving this school?
It's quite difficult to put to gauge it. The thing it's certainly done has made the school a secure place to be for the children and the staff. Now we do have a secure environment here where we can work with the children, where the children can relax, they can feel comfortable. They can have some degree of some expectation that their property and so on is going to be cared for, secure, and that they're not going to be bullied or intimidated.
The system automatically deletes footage after 2 days, unless it needs to be archived for evidence. There's also no facility to network the data and view material remotely. A 2007 DirectGov survey found that 1 in 4 parents wanted an online link to their children during the school day. And while this is not a practice widespread in schools, it is prevalent in many preschool nurseries. Using a secure password, parents can log in and view their children from home or work via the internet.
We have complete monitoring systems so that they can only access during the time that their children attend the nursery and have access to the rooms that their children are actually in. So they can't view other rooms unless their child's actually in that room. It's got good health and safety issues around it, insofar as if a child has an accident, for example, we obviously report that to parents and get them to fill in forms. But actually, you can actually show them that it was an accident. You can actually say, and we'll show you exactly what happened if they're not here. So it's fantastic for that. So it actually protects the staff rather than being invasive.
If your child comes home and says something has seriously happened, you know, you have the ability to have a look at it and have the evidence to work with your child or actually confront your child on something.
You are aware of bad practice in schools and in nurseries, and it just gives you peace of mind that there can't be any, you know,
they can't hide it.
They can't hide anything, you know, they're on camera.
This system works well in a nursery situation, but would it work in a school context?
Not Georgie.
I can't personally see a problem with it. I mean, I think initially, yes, people would have their fears and concerns, and I think the kids might act up a little bit, especially older ones if you're looking at senior school. We've had nothing but good reviews about the system, and it works really, really well for us.
Online webcams are not common in schools yet, but there are other ways in which parents can keep tabs on their children. Virtual learning environments, or VLEs, give students access to learning resources at home. Hillcrest School in Birmingham has added a tool to its VLE, which allows parents to log on and check a child's attendance.
It's after the register. The parents can log on from work, home, anywhere in the world, basically, and then they can actually call up. They've got a password and a username for their child. They can log in and actually see the results. There's a pie diagram comes up with their attendance, and then underneath that there's the date and whether they're absent or not.
Parents can also access homework assignments, test results and pupil timetables, so they know exactly where their child should be.
I think in the past we've relied some time on the child delivering things home, and like probably a lot of children, things remain in the bottom of their bags for some time until mum or dad actually empties the bag out and finds the latest newsletter. If it's a trip, they'll take the letter home straight away, obviously.
You could actually say it can be a big brother sort of tool. And I would say to you, well, you know, if you've got that sort of relationship or a different relationship with your child, then it can be helpful to monitor attendance.
I'm sure I'm not the only parent when your children come home from school, say, what have you been doing today? Or how did you get on your trip? Or what's going on at school? When have I got to come in for the assembly? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm not sure. Not done anything. Now I can talk to them about it because I can check myself and have a look and see when the school trip is or when that assembly is that I need to attend. You know, I can talk to them about things that's going on at school that usually I wouldn't know anything about.
Does parents' ability to check up on their children in any way undermine the children's individual responsibilities?
On the one side, it's really good, but then on the other side, you know, from a child's point of view, you might think it's invading your privacy.
Why is that a problem?
Because people might have things to hide, and in a way it's bad because if they've got things to hide, but it's good because they can improve, so they won't have anything to hide in the end.
But surely you never have anything to hide from your parents, do you? Your parents say to you, have you got any homework to do tonight, and what do you say?
Well, I mean, usually I'd just say no and just go up to my bedroom, but now they'll know whether you're lying or not.
And can question you and everything. It's like a tracking device.
I think if you've got like a good trust relationship with your parents anyway, then they won't have to check up on you that much.
On Tuesday evening, one of the students was with her parents and she said, oh, that's really good, she said, you know, because now I'll be able to, my parents will know what it is that I've got to do much better. They'll know what's going on in the school. They'll be able to support me. I think it'll be a joint thing. I mean, it's all a partnership anyway. And the better that partnership works between the pupils, the parents and us as teachers, then I think that's the better for them.
The technologies we've seen so far monitor pupils' actions and don't involve the collection of physical data, but this happens too. Many schools are now collecting biometric data like fingertip scans as forms of ID to speed up tasks like registration and taking out library books.
In simple terms, it's the ability to use an element of biology, an element of your body, to act as an entry device, to act as a password to something. That might be an eye, it might be a fingerprint, but that gives you access just like it would if you typed in a password.
It's estimated that nearly 6,000 pupils have handed over biometric data to schools. Looking for an alternative to paper-based registration, Loughborough Grammar School was one of the first in the country to adopt biometrics in 2003. In Year 7, a pupil's thumbprints are scanned onto the school computer network. Using sensors around the site, pupils register twice a day using their thumbs.
I think boys being boys, it was like James Bond technology for them. You know, it was the ultimate. And it's still very exciting when the new boys come here in Year 7. They're greatly excited by the prospect of registering using thumbprints.
Systems in use vary, but the general principles are the same. A scanner records a number of points across a thumb or finger and converts this information into a long, unique stream of numbers. And it's this data which is stored on the system, not an actual fingerprint. Once scanned in at a terminal, details of a registration are sent to the class tutor in the form room in advance of a pupil getting there.
It takes registration out of the teacher's responsibility. Yes, the teacher oversees the registration, but the actual physical registering of the pupil is down to the pupil. This just frees up more and more time for the teacher to do other things, really.
There's no need for 2 or 3 minutes or how long it normally takes to take a register, so we can get straight onto the form business straight away. I find it's a very useful system because the pupils register before they come to me in form time, and it means that I can see whether they're in school before they get to me.
He's not in, is he?
From a teacher's perspective, the advantages are that if a boy is missing from your lesson for any reason, you can go online and immediately discover whether they have registered and are in school and therefore are missing for other reasons. So you can action kind of missing students immediately, which can often be really effective.
Some schools use biometrics to register students within every lesson, but here in Loughborough it's only done twice a day. Afternoon registration has become a thing of the past, with the onus on pupils to scan themselves in over the lunch break.
We used to have to go to our form teachers in the afternoon at the end of lunch to register, but we no longer need to because their sensors are operating throughout lunch, so you just register at any point then.
The paper system was ungainly and it was prone to being lost and things misregistered. This is a lot more foolproof, I think, and it's quite easy to remember to register twice a day, so it basically just takes the load off everybody.
It takes literally about 10 seconds to register, whereas it took about 10-15 minutes for a class to register through the old system.
Another use of the technology is in cashless catering, where pupils scan in to obtain lunch, negating the need to carry any money.
I think it's a lot easier than using the cards that we used to use, because it's like you just have to go in and put your thumb on a thing rather than having to get a card out your pocket.
It just saves a lot of time, and it doesn't take as long for queuing.
It would be possible through the use of biometrics to monitor what children are eating. Surveillance gone mad, some might say, and some people have real concerns about the collection of pupils' biometric data.
We ought to be drumming into them that you don't give up your biometrics without question, and you say, is it necessary to have my biometric? Now, I don't think it's necessary to use a biometric to take out a library book or to speed up a lunch line. I think that's an excessive purpose for such a serious piece of security.
So what about fingerprinting and parental consent? Well, it's a grey area. At this school in Loughborough, they do ask parents, but some schools don't. And there's no requirement under the Data Protection Act to get consent. It's these issues that were worrying children's rights groups and parents alike. The fact that there's no consistent policy. One concerned parent is David Clouter, whose daughter's prints were taken without consent for use in her primary school's library system.
We didn't have a problem with the school wanting to do that, but we had a problem with them wanting to do that without asking us first, because biometric information is very sensitive information. There's the potential of all sorts of identity fraud coming out of the information that schools are collecting and storing, and so it would be at the very least courteous to ask us before doing it.
Joining together with other concerned parents, David has set up a campaign group called Leave Them Kids Alone.
The aim of our campaign is to make it law that parents have to have the systems explained and then have to be asked for their consent before their children can be fingerprinted, and that's really all we're campaigning for.
The issue of consent has gone as far as Parliament, with the submission of an early day motion on the subject.
If suddenly the government announced that every adult had to give fingerprints at the local police station for whatever purpose, you would have an absolute uproar. And I think we should have the same uproar that children as young as 3 are being asked to give fingerprints, and often asked to do so without giving proper consent.
We do ask for consent. There's no need to ask for consent. The Data Protection Act, it's just holding a bit of information about a pupil, just like his address. In fact, the pupil's address is most probably more dangerous to get into other people's hands than the information we held on their fingerprints.
In the summer of 2007, and following concerns raised by schools about the use of biometrics, the Information Commissioner's Office, the DCSF and Bector issued guidance on the use of biometrics in schools. And while they highlighted it would be good practice to get parental consent, they fell short of making it compulsory.
The Data Protection Act doesn't require them to consult. As long as they're using the data in a way which is in accordance with the law, then they don't need to do that consultation. But having said that, in terms of good practice, it makes sense for them to be doing that, and we certainly advise that very strongly, that they should be doing that.
We're very unhappy with the guidelines because they don't really give the schools specifics, and they're non-statutory, so even if schools were to completely ignore the guidelines, they wouldn't be in any sort of trouble.
The guidelines aren't clear at all, and I'll be interested to see what happens when a parent mounts a legal challenge, which inevitably will come.
If there is an alternative for parents who aren't happy about the use of that technology, then consent isn't actually required, because there is always an option for that technology not to be used with particular individual pupils.
In addition to issues of consent, there are anxieties as to how secure this information is whilst in the school's possession. If a school were the victim of a burglary or cybercrime, what exactly could be done with that data?
The fingerprint template that's stored by these systems is like a lifelong PIN number that can never be changed, and if it leaks from the system, then your child could have a danger in, say, 10 years' time if they want to open a bank account or with passports or whatever, of permanent, serious, irreversible identity fraud.
You can't steal the actual fingerprint images because we don't store them. If the correct security is in place, which it should be, and we discuss with our customers how to implement that security, the information is secure in the database.
The fingerprint generates a series of numbers. Now, if there are any other places using the same system, and I could get hold of that series of numbers, that long password, if you like, then there would be technological means for me to be able to, if you like, pass that number to a system and pretend to be your fingerprint. What I'm not able to do is recreate your fingerprint like they do in the movies.
It's probably the most secure bits of data we actually hold on the pupils. Getting access to our management systems and other things like that is most probably easier than getting access to this collection of random digits that happen to define a pupil's thumbprint.
I guess even if someone did break in, it wouldn't particularly worry me. I mean, there's not a huge amount you can do, unless in the future, of course, that's used for banking and things like that.
But no worries about it being stolen, and misuse, again, is not something that I'm worried about.
What I'm going to do
You can't recreate a full print, but are there any real security issues? As with a child at school, my fingerprint has been scanned and converted into a stream of numbers for use as a log-on device to a laptop. Using a special piece of software, computer expert Nick Furno is going to try to hack into the hard drive and access the stream of numbers so he can then log in without the use of my fingerprint.
Of course, a computer doesn't know what a fingerprint is. All it knows, it translates the points of the fingerprint into numerical data, and so we go after the numerical data.
After a couple of minutes searching, the software has very easily found the numerical data created by my fingerprint.
And the cracking software has given us a number, so we're just going to type this number straight into the box,
okay.
Which I'm just going to 127534027, like so. I hit return or just press OK, and as you can see immediately now that is logging into Windows, and we've done that without the need for your fingerprint, essentially circumventing the need for our biometric device.
So any idea I had that my fingerprint entry into your computer was safe has just been blown out the water.
Absolutely. So in this instance we've been able to circumvent the technology quite easily.
In this programme we've seen how staff and pupils are watched, listened to and tracked. The long-term implications for education are considerable.
We have to be clear that we use this immense technology for good and that it doesn't further make the whole business of teaching and education, which should be a joy, into something which is shaded by doubt.